Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving into a field that, on the surface, looks like pure escapism, the high-end destination wedding market. Specifically for American couples choosing Italy. I mean, you look at the glossy photos, the rolling hills of Tuscany, the cliffside venues, and it seems like the only challenge is deciding between Prosecco or Chianti.
It sounds like a dream, doesn't it? But, the sources you shared reveal that beneath all that beauty, there's a really complex, high-stakes collision of expectations. The core difficulty isn't logistics or language. It's a fundamental cultural disconnect.
Right.
So our mission for this deep dive is to extract the key insight from this unique planner. Why standard approaches fail, and how a focus on true cultural fluency offers a kind of fifth way to deliver a deeply authentic lived experience of Italy.
And that cultural tension is the surprising hook right out of the gate. The sources make it so clear that the stress points, the failures, they don't start with a late cake or a missing centerpiece.
No, not at all.
They come from this clash between the American mindset, which, demands clarity, structure, absolute predictability,
Okay.
and then the Italian mindset, which operates on relationships, intuition, a certain rhythm.
It's like you're trying to run a high-precision digital operation using a highly intuitive analog system.
Exactly.
And that mismatch is it's exhausting for everyone involved. If you, as the client, try to force a relationship-based culture into a spreadsheet, you end up fighting the very charm you came for in the first place.
The whole thing risks feeling manufactured. Or worse, just falling apart from misunderstandings.
Totally.
So if that's the problem, this core cultural tension, how do American couples usually try to solve it?
Mhm.
And why do the sources say those attempts only postpone the problem?
Well, the material points to three common pitfalls. Three types of help that look good on paper, but they just lack that necessary bridge-building skill. First, you have couples who rely on travel agents. And travel agents are great at booking rooms, flights, but they treat the wedding like an extended, complicated vacation package. A wedding is a living, breathing production. It involves dozens of local artisans, real-time management. It's not just a series of transactional bookings.
Right, and the high-end market demands a level of vendor coordination and, frankly, emotional management that's
Yeah.
way beyond what a typical travel agent is equipped for.
Exactly. The second pitfall, remote American planners. They speak the couple's language, they get the need for itemized checklists, for weekly calls, but they often lack the deep, lived-in Italian roots. They don't have those long-standing relationships with local vendors, and they can't intuitively read the unspoken rhythm of Italian business culture.
So they understand the what, but not the how of operating on the ground.
Precisely. And the third type is maybe the most deceptive. Italian planners who claim to work with foreign couples, they are masterful on the Italian side. They know all the best suppliers. They can navigate the bureaucracy. But they frequently fail to truly grasp the distinct communication style and the high need for structural safety that American clients require. They often lump an American client in with a German client or a British client, which the sources say is a massive error.
I see the issue. So in all three scenarios, you have someone who is either a specialist in logistics but is culturally blind, or they're culturally embedded but structurally unaware of that American need for clarity.
That's the crux of it. The stress is inevitable because two completely different operating systems are trying to communicate. The sources detail this really stark contrast. The American approach is built on structure, clarity, the written word. If it's not in the contract, it doesn't exist.
I can just picture that project manager from Seattle who absolutely cannot handle a vendor saying, "Don't worry, it will be fine."
No, that is the cultural requirement for safety. Meanwhile, the Italian approach is built on personal relationships, intuition, rhythm, what we might call a high-context culture. The problem starts in that very first email, where the structural differences immediately create mistrust.
So if that's the diagnosis, how do the sources propose fixing it? This is where Quintessenza Italia comes in.
Right. They realized they couldn't just offer slightly better logistics, they had to offer cultural safety. And they're extremely specific about their audience, US-based couples. They get that treating all foreign couples as one big category is a mistake. Americans have unique expectations around budget accountability, contracts, communication.
And what's fascinating here is that their solution isn't some corporate theory. It's rooted in their own bicultural credibility. It's their lived experience.
Absolutely. The sources really emphasize that this comes from life, not a strategy session. The family is deeply rooted in the U.S., spending long periods there every year, and they have a daughter who lives in the U.S. full-time.
Ah,
So their understanding of American life, It's not just legal contracts, it's the feel of American routines, the emotional importance of Thanksgiving, the community feel of Halloween. It's not something they learned for work, it's their reality.
That's a huge point. It means they instinctively understand the American need for that structural safety because they live aspects of that culture themselves.
They speak both languages fluently, literally, and culturally. The metaphor in the source material is wonderful. They don't build a bridge between cultures, they live on it.
Wow.
And that unique vantage point gives them this rare ability to move naturally within the flexible, relationship-driven Italian system, while at the same time delivering the clarity and structure their American clients need.
The ultimate result being that they can deliver clarity without killing the authenticity. So let's shift that clarity to the area that worries every couple the most, money. How does this cultural fluency translate into financial trust?
Well, trust starts with financial clarity, especially for American couples. And the source material has this staggering statistic. 98% of their weddings stay within the initial budget estimate.
98%, that is almost unheard of in high-end international events. I mean, ballooning costs are the norm. How do they do that?
It's achieved through what they call a translation system of expectations. It's not just translating dollars to euros, it's translating the intent of the service. Because they have those deep relationships, they can secure clear contractual commitments from Italian artisans, even the ones who usually operate on a handshake, without damaging the rapport. They know how to ask.
So they're protecting the American client's need for clarity while also protecting the Italian vendor's need for relationship and flexibility.
Exactly. And then they present this information to the couple in an American-friendly framework. Transparent budgets, clear structures, full visibility, and crucially, they stress the inclusion of VAT, the value-added tax, from the very first estimate.
That's a detail that can just sink an international budget. Most Americans aren't thinking about a 22% VAT fee.
It's a massive shock. By managing VAT proactively, showing it clearly, they build that trust immediately. It shows that even in high-end service, hidden fees are what kill trust.
So once that rock-solid financial foundation is set, they move into their planning method, which they call the fifth way. And this seems to flip the whole script on how you even start.
It does. Typically, a couple looks at Italy and they start with a postcard. We want Tuscany, or we want the Amalfi Coast. Location first.
But the Quintessenza approach ignores the location at first and asks a much deeper question. How do you want your guests to feel? The emotional blueprint comes first.
And that shift from geography to emotion is the critical insight. They define the experience. Should guests feel relaxed and intimate like a family gathering? Or formal and elegant? Is the goal rugged nature or high art? Once that emotional experience is clearly defined, only then do they choose the region and the specific venue that can authentically embody that feeling.
That makes so much sense. It prevents that feeling of, forced grandeur when a venue is beautiful but totally mismatched for the couple's actual goal.
Right. It connects the celebration to the soul of the territory, not just its name recognition. It's the difference between mass tourism and creating something truly personal.
So let's talk about execution, because this seems to be driven by a philosophy of presence over scale. How does that work?
It manifests through a deliberate, self-imposed limitation. The sources detail that they limit their work to a maximum of only 12 weddings per year.
12. Wow, that's an astonishingly low number in this industry.
It's not about creating artificial scarcity. It's a philosophical statement. It ensures their entire team's focus, mentally, physically, emotionally, is completely on each celebration. It's a rejection of that industrialized model that just burns planners out.
And that focus is what translates directly into the guest experience, which is described not as efficient, but as effortless, like things flow.
That's because they don't just stick to a schedule, they actively read the atmosphere in real time. If the guests are laughing and the light is perfect, they hold the next event. If someone looks tired, they adjust. They are constantly anticipating needs, so guests feel welcomed, not managed.
I was struck by the detail about the staff briefing. It's such a subtle thing. The sources say that every professional, the photographer, the waitstaff, is briefed not just on what to do, but on the couple's specific tone of voice.
That is next-level service. It's a perfect example of expectation translation. They're essentially teaching the Italian staff how to emotionally interface with an American clientele. Are the couple high energy and joking, or quiet and reserved? This allows the staff to interact in a way that feels comfortable and familiar to the guests.
Right, creating that feeling of ease and belonging. And of course, the food. They reject the generic Italian concept there, too.
Oh, absolutely. Food, in their methodology, is storytelling. It's anchored to a specific territory. It's a memory builder. So we're not talking about a general pasta dish. We're talking risotto, made from grains grown on the estate itself, or local lake fish with regional wines, or specific heritage dishes like tortelli and lambrusco in Emilia-Romagna. Every bite tells the story of the place.
When you look at all these pieces together, the financial predictability, the emotional focus the fifth way, the focused attention, the culturally fluent execution, it completely redefines the final product.
And that leads directly to their ultimate definition of luxury. They argue that true luxury isn't about excessive spending or exclusivity. It's about freedom from worry. It's the ability for the couple and their guests to be fully present, knowing someone who understands both sides completely has already anticipated every need.
The final product is that lived experience of Italy, real, unforced, deeply human. It's a powerful argument. This deep dive has shown that the highest level of service in a cross-cultural setting isn't about better logistics. It's about the difficult, necessary work of emotional and cultural translation.
Exactly. You have to translate expectations before you can translate contracts. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, think about where this applies beyond weddings. How often do international business collaborations or even diplomatic efforts fail? Not because of a bad product, but because they prioritize structured logistics, the spreadsheet over understanding the core cultural rhythm and unspoken expectations of the people they're serving. It raises an important question for all of us. Where else in our lives are we only translating words when we should be translating expectations? That emotional and cultural fluency is the real challenge and the real competitive advantage of operating globally today.